Well, welcome to the channel, Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, Theologist, Gosford, Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. One of the things, as I look back over my life, that has probably motivated me in the right direction, but I've watched so many people self-harm and lose life because of these things. It really does make you sad. It really does. You just ask yourself, how could I help? And you try and help, and you can't. And that's medications above and beyond what the doctor prescribes. Alcohol abuse, dope abuse, nicotine, and the usual things that the devil uses to help people to check out before their time. The silly part about it is you don't want the people that you care about to be harmed or maimed. You don't want them to be hurting themselves, and you say little things that, you hope ain't going to wound and maim. But for some strange reasons, even as a young boy looking back, I've seen dozens of people die before their time because of nicotine and marijuana. Just nicotine and marijuana. Add alcohol to that and abuse of medications, and these people are not going to live out their lifetime. They're just not. I watched my stepfather die at 51, my mother at 67. My grandmother had a pretty good run considering she smoked all her life. She got to 80-something. But that doesn't justify the way they abuse themselves and the sadness and the worry and the stress that causes on the people that are closest to them. I've had some girlfriends that have done these things, but as you get older and you meet older ladies and, you look at what they've done to themselves and you care about them and you're just hoping that something's going to change and they just are unable to. You really do feel sad and concerned for these people. And you say to yourself, my goodness, they're not making right decisions for themselves. They're not looking at the long-term consequences and impacts that it's going to have on themselves and the people around them. A lot of these people survive on the supply, the emotional supply and sense of belonging that they get from the disabled people around them, family members around them, and in some ways they've contributed to these habits. I could never understand why my mother never gave up smoking, but looking at it and the way that her life was formed, it was just a part of her. It was something that she did and something that she enjoyed. She tried to stop at the end, but it was too late. This is the thing. The accumulated time in which they've abused themselves with these substances, the body gets to a point where it goes, I can't do this anymore, and it starts to break down. And they'll have bouts of sickness and bouts of visits to the doctors, and then one day they get the big, we're sorry, but you've got cancer, whatever type of cancer that might be. And again, when you care about these people and you're hoping that they're going to live long, and they actually don't, like they're gone. Mum's gone, the stepfather's gone. From these things, it really knocks you around when you think that, I know people that do this, I've been close to people that do this, and it's so concerning. I've lost so many friends, and then you get friends that don't do all that, like our friend, very close friend, Bestie, our truck mechanic and friend from school. Just a man that I, really had respect for. just overnight dies of prostate cancer. Just overnight. There 1 minute, got an empire, a truck empire, and he just dies. He just dies in front of everyone, sort of thing. He's gone. That's not... That's if that doesn't scare you, right? It scares me as an athletic, healthy, relatively strong. I wouldn't say I'm overly strong, but last year I clocked up 3,562 kilometres of exercise. This year I've got just under 2,000 so far, but I've had a slow year this year. And that's not including work and my intimate activities, but and gym, which is not recordable in terms of distance. I try and stay active and eat well and sleep well and love well and all that, and I don't think that it's fair when you care about people and they just can't find their way out of the abuse that they're bringing onto themselves. And one of the big red flags of these things is people that abuse themselves will ultimately abuse you. And that's another aspect to this, these self-medicinal ways in which people manage themselves. I think people try and... I'll never understand my last partner, because she knew and I knew that we were from different worlds and we lived different ways. And I just know deep inside her, from the fact that she had committed herself to rehabilitation at a young age for the benefit of her first son. And I don't want to go into all the details and all this, because that wouldn't be fair, but I knew deep inside her she had the capabilities to turn her life around if she really wanted to. And of course, as many of us do, you think that you can make a contribution to that person's life by way of the life that you represent and bring to the table. But it doesn't work that way. I used to say to my mother, Mum, look, what about the grandkids? You know, and she lived and breathed those little kids. She really did, but she just couldn't hang on by what she had done to herself with nicotine and nicotine. She didn't do anything else. And she died at 67. And my kids appreciated she was a tremendous businesswoman. She kept things in order in her life. She taught us boundaries and how to get ahead. She was a very firm, hard woman, but the most loving woman you could ever meet. She never ever allowed us to interfere in her private business, but she never ever, pushed us aside either. And this is what I try to explain to a couple of the women I had, but they couldn't work out how to balance that. And I guess for a couple of them, it was too late for them to try and reculturalize the mindsets of their adult children relative to the love that they were trying to have with the new person they were with. It was very conflictive for their adult children, and unfortunately it cost them the relationship. People won't tolerate hostility from other people's children, especially when it's not legit. And when you're standing there and you're watching how the adult's trying to navigate it and it's not constructive, that doesn't contribute anything to the relationship either, and people lose out. And they lose out not by way of the fact that they didn't get on, they lose out by a triangulated form of hostility that had no right to be in the intimate, private dimension of the adults in the first place. So that that brings us back to a lack of boundaries. And boundaries are so important. Boundaries aren't about crueling people. This is what I used to say to them. You never want to be cruel to the people that you love. Boundaries are to keep the people that you love safe, you safe, and the person that you're trying to have a relationship safe from intrusions that don't belong in the private and intimate part of the relationship. And people that don't have boundaries always end up in a triangulated situation because too many people are crossing over into areas that they don't belong. That's what the problem is. And boundaries can be hard for people because they enmesh so deeply with their family members. It's just not a possibility without some kind of psychological micro-incremental progressive collapse or a narcissistic collapse, because as the emotional supply shifts by way of the dynamic of the new relationship, because the emotional supply will shift away from the person that's consuming it in the family to the new partner, there are going to be conflicts, there are going to be consequences, there are going to be detrimental effects on the people that are used to that amount of attention. And if that amount of attention gets changed, the consequence of that can be, I'm telling you, I've seen it, very detrimental on the particular person that's wondering why it's being taken away and what's going to be done about it. And it's really, as an outsider, none of your business. These people will try and assassinate you as quick, psychologically or characteristically assassinate you as quickly as they can to get the control and the manipulation and control back into the brain of the mother or the child, whatever directions it's working in, to bring back order to their selfish enmeshment. And enmeshment, once it gets to that stage, covert emotional enmeshment, it's never going to leave. That's it for life. It doesn't go away. It stays that way for life. It's not, in most cases, repairable because it's all covert. And Professor Sam Vaknin says that, and I believe him, that in so many ways covert emotional incest is more damaging and dangerous than actual incest, sexual incest, in its own way. Both are devastating, but covert emotional incest in some ways is more devastating because it's secretive and it all happens in the unseen, quiet realm. So these are some of the things that make you sad, because you don't want to see the people that you love and care about being harmed or maimed by the habits that they're ensnared in. I'm Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist, Gosford on the Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. Thank you for joining me, and bye for now.